Waitress exposes incredible hidden talent in heartwarming dance that transforms 200 lives forever. In the sleepy town of Maplewood, the ordinary often masked the extraordinary. And that evening, Sarah's world was about to flip upside down. Behind the counter of Gus's diner, she poured coffee with a smile that hid years of exhausting struggle. Her life as a single mother kept her busy, serving up plates and wrangling her spirited 14-year-old daughter, Emily, who insisted they attend the local charity event. "Come on, Mom. It'll be fun," she urged, her excitement bubbling over. Little did she know, that night would change everything. With the smell of home-cooked meals still on her skin, Sarah stepped into the community center, where joyful chatter and music intermingled in a euphoric blend. As her eyes scoured the room, she felt like a ghost, a silhouette against the vibrant backdrop of laughter and dance. She felt appreciated, yes, but invisible, just a waitress. But as the music soared, something deep within her sparked, almost like a forgotten flame, rekindling after years of neglect. Memories of her own twirls and leaps flooded back, but life had silenced that joy years ago. Then came the fateful announcement. A dance-off, the room buzzed with energy. Emily, her bright eyes begging for adventure, pulled her mother's hand insistently. "Do it. Show them what you've got." But Sarah hesitated, fear clawing at her chest. What if they laughed? What if she failed? But in that moment, she remembered the dreams she'd tucked away, the twirls she had always craved. With a deep breath, she stepped onto the floor as she danced. The transformation was instantaneous. Each movement shed the weight of her exhaustion, a symphony of grace and power merging in a way that left everyone breathless. Gasps echoed through the hall. Expressions of disbelief mingled with admiration. Emily's proud cries filled the air. In that fleeting moment, Sarah was no longer the waitress. She was a dancer, fiercely reclaiming the narrative of her life. The room erupted into exhilaration, applause ringing in her ears, waking up emotions long buried. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But euphoria can be a double-edged sword. As quickly as the celebration ignited, clouds gathered. Whispers first innocent, then cutting fluttered through the town. Emily felt the shift, her own insecurities emerging. She watched her mother dazzle. But where did that leave her? The town rushed to embrace Sarah. But as they began preparing for a local talent show, a darker undercurrent surged. Social status, old judgments, and preconceived notions began to surface. When the local papers got wind of Sarah's newfound fame, the praise turned to scrutiny. Just a waitress, they scoffed. What right does she have to shine? Overwhelming tension settled in the air. Mother and daughter had to come together, face the looming worries and expectations. Will they endure the storm, or will the weight of gossip tear them apart? As the veil of dreams danced just out of reach, a shocking scandal threatened to explode, leaving their futures swirling in uncertainty. As the days rolled on, Maplewood buzzed with gossip. Sarah could feel the weight of every whisper. Why her? What makes her special? The words stung like barbs, echoing in her mind as she served pies and coffee at the diner. Each smile she offered felt more like a mask, more like a performance to the world outside than genuine cheer. Emily, too, struggled with the shift. Once vibrant and fearless, she now walked the halls of her school with her head down, avoiding the accusing looks from classmates who had once been her friends. "Mom, do you think they think I'm a loser because you dance?" she had whispered one evening, her voice barely a tremor above the noise of the diner. "No, honey, they don't matter," Sarah replied softly, but even she doubted her own words. At that moment, as she looked into Emily's worried eyes, she realized they both stood at the edge of a precipice. Was the joy of dancing worth the pain it seemed to cause? With the talent show drawing near, Sarah felt the anxiety creep in even more heavily. She practiced late into the night, each sway and spin bringing a bit of solace. But with every rehearsal, the rumors grew louder. Just days before the show, she received a text that made her heart race. An anonymous note slipped under her door, reading, "Not everyone in this town supports your dreams. Stay in your lane." Taken aback, Sarah crumpled the paper in her hand and stared out her kitchen window. The darkened sky mirrored her tumultuous thoughts. She understood that dance was a gift, one she hadn't pursued because she feared judgment. But was it worth giving up on it now? Meanwhile, Emily lay in bed, wrestling her own thoughts. She was proud of her mother, but the insecurity gnawed at her. In the silence of the night, she felt a familiar spark of determination rise within her. She couldn't let anyone dim her mother's light, nor could she remain shrouded in her own shadows. After all, the world often had layers of judgment. It was time to break through. The night of the talent show arrived, a mix of excitement and dread flooding the community center. Bright lights flickered over the stage, illuminating the faces that had come to witness the spectacle. Friends and neighbors filled the seats, but a palpable tension hung in the air. Sarah caught glimpses of familiar faces, some smiling, others frowning in silent judgment as she stood backstage. She could feel Emily's enthusiasm pulsating through the curtain. With every beat of the music, Sarah's nerves began to melt away, replaced by a rock-solid resolve. "I want to just dance for myself," she whispered, "but for us. For Emily." Something in that moment recentered her. As her name echoed through the crowd, she stepped onto the stage, out into the spotlight, ready to reclaim not just the rhythm of her dance, but the stories of her life. But just before she took her first step, she caught a glimpse of the local paper's editor in the audience, his gaze sharp and calculating. A knot formed in her stomach. What if he unleashed another wave of cruel commentary? Determined not to let fear rule her, Sarah took a deep breath. What if this was more than a dance? What if this was her stand against everything that tried to restrain her? Tonight, she wouldn't just perform. She would rise. The music began, but with every twist and turn, a new storm brewed behind her. Was she ready to rise above all the judgments? And when the final note played, would the applause drown out the whispers forever? The melody wrapped around Sarah like a warm embrace, the first notes spilling out into the air, releasing an energy she had locked away for too long. As she took her first step, the audience faded, leaving only her connection to the music, to her movement. She flicked her wrist, her heart danced alongside the beats, and for the first time, she felt as if she was truly alive. Each pirouette was not just a turn. It was a rejection of doubt, of fear, of every nasty comment that had been hurled her way. She poured all of it into her performance, each movement a defiant shout into the abyss. Under the spotlight, she felt powerful. More than just a waitress. More than just a mother, she was a woman reclaiming her rightful place. She caught sight of Emily's face in the audience. The girl was radiating pride, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears. Seeing that love and support ignited something deep within Sarah. She thought of the nights they spent crafting dreams together, sharing hopes and laughter over the scent of freshly baked pies in their small kitchen. This dance was not just hers. It belonged to both of them. The music swelled, and she married grace with the grit she felt inside. The crowd became a distant hum, and for a fleeting moment, she forgot about the opinions that had sought to cripple her. The only thing that existed was the rhythm echoing through her bones, urging her forward with unshakable strength. But as her routine intensified, she noticed the editor's penetrating gaze. What would he write? Would this one moment of authenticity be twisted into mockery? For a second, doubt returned, clinging to her like a shadow. But as she landed a particularly challenging move, she silenced those thoughts with a defiant smile. No more shame. No more apologizing for shining bright. The final crescendo approached, and Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. She had reached that moment she had always longed for, absolute freedom in her art. With one last leap, she spun towards the audience, arms outstretched, and as the music reached its peak, She felt herself suspended in time. Then silence. Holding her breath, Sarah looked out at the audience. The chaos boiled down to a stunning hush. For a split second, fear trickled in, threading through to her core. But as the first clap broke through the stillness, an avalanche followed. The sound of applause grew until it filled the room with a thunderous roar. Reverberating against the walls like a tidal wave, her heart swelled. This was acceptance. This was love. This was the community embracing her in her truth. She scanned the crowd, seeing past the familiar faces. Even the editor had lowered his notepad, a fleeting surprise on his face. In that moment, they were all unified in celebration not just of her dance but of every struggle and victory that made each person uniquely beautiful. As she took her final bow, Sarah locked eyes with Emily again, and the unspoken connection between them was electrifying. They had grown, transformed. But as the applause faded, the reality of what this dance would mean for both of them began to sink in. Would they be able to withstand the storms of judgment that might still come? In the back of her mind, Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The world beyond the stage was full of uncertainty. Yet, as she stepped off, a new determination blossomed within her. She had risen tonight, but what challenges awaited them next? Would they stand together against whatever storms came their way? The backstage lights glared overhead as Sarah stepped away from the performance area, still riding the high of her moment. Her heart was racing, and the echoes of the applause faded into the background, replaced by the buzzing whispers of excitement filling the corridor. She had done it. She had shared a piece of herself. But reality came rushing back in, a cold wave drenching her newfound warmth. The editor's presence loomed large in her thoughts, a shadow that threatened to overshadow her triumph. What would happen when the review hit the stands? Would the harsh words return, ripping apart her spirit like so many times before? "Mom!" Emily rushed toward her, arms wide open. The girl wrapped her around Sarah, squeezing tightly. It was pure, blissful energy cascading through Sarah's veins. They pulled apart, and Emily's face shone, a testament to unquenchable joy. "You were amazing. Did you see everyone's faces? They loved you." Sarah smiled, her cheeks aching from the expression. I can't believe I did it. You made everyone feel something," Emily said, her voice filled with awe. "It was like we were all part of your journey." The warmth of the moment washed away some of Sarah's apprehension, reminding her of the very core of why she had danced tonight. It wasn't for the applause, or even the editor's words. It was for the connection, the love that wrapped around both of them, strong enough to help them weather the storms to come. Suddenly, the backstage door swung open, and a voice boomed through the chaos. It was the event coordinator, her clipboard clutched tight like a lifeline. "Okay, everyone listen up. We have the press arriving shortly." A collective wave of tension coursed through the room. Sarah could feel the tightness in her stomach return. Questions buzzed like angry bees in her head. What if they don't understand? What if I'm just a punchline again? "Mom, let us just enjoy this moment," Emily pleaded, nudging her gently. "You've made people believe in you. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Okay?" The younger girl's unwavering belief struck a chord deep within Sarah. She squeezed Emily's hand tighter, drawing from the strength that had blossomed between them. "You're right. We can do this." As they walked toward the exit, laughter filled the air from the remaining dancers, mingling with the frantic pacing of the crew. Sarah felt an urge to turn back, to slip away into anonymity where she wouldn't feel the intense scrutiny. But then she took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Emily's hand in hers. They approached the opening, and she hesitated, envisioning the crowd gathering outside, the cameras, the flashes. What if this could be their turning point? She could be their voice now. Taking another breath, Sarah held her head high. As they stepped through the door, the lights outside sparkled like stars, illuminating the faces of hopeful supporters, family, and friends. Fear began to melt away, replaced by something deeper: empowerment. As they moved into the crowd, the atmosphere shifted. Everyone turned toward them, their faces filled with admiration and eagerness. It was as if everyone was waiting for Sarah to share her story, to show them how she danced her truth. The editor locked eyes with her, holding a slight smile, his notepad now resting at his side. Was this the change she had been looking for? When the first camera clicked and a barrage of questions followed, she felt Emily squeeze her hand tighter, a grounding force amid uncertainty. With a heart still echoing with music, Sarah prepared to share a piece of her journey, their journey. She knew she was standing at the crossroads, and the direction she chose would ripple beyond this night. But as she opened her mouth to speak, a familiar voice cut through the crowd, a voice that sent a jolt of panic through her. "So what made you think you could dance, waitress?" The atmosphere shifted again, tension rising like a balloon ready to burst. How would she respond? Would she fight back, or reveal the heart of her vulnerability? Sarah felt the world hold its breath. It was a moment that could define everything, and she felt all eyes on her, waiting for the answer. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of air that hung thick in the air. Sarah's mind raced as the familiar voice echoed in her ears, the words tainted with judgment. It was the same voice that had haunted her in smaller, dimly lit venues, the ones where the laughter turned barbed and protection felt far away. Taking a deep breath, she felt the warmth of Emily's presence anchoring her to the moment. "You think being a waitress means I can't dance?" Sarah's voice held an unexpected steadiness, surprising even herself. The sneer on the face of the heckler twisted into disbelief. "What would you know about real dancing? It's just a pastime." The murmurs among the crowd began to split. Some looked at her with pity, others with support. Sarah's heart raced, but she could feel the energy shifting. Maybe this moment was more than an accusation. It was an opportunity, a chance to redefine herself. "Dance isn't about how many classes you've taken or the reputation of the stage," she replied, a fire igniting within her. "It's about expressing who you are, and I've poured every part of my life into every step." Emily's hand squeezed her own again, a silent cheerleading squad igniting her resolve. Hope surged through Sarah, a desire to connect, to make the crowd feel. "And maybe," she continued, her eyes scanning the familiar faces, "it's about offering a piece of myself to those who are willing to listen." With each word, it felt like the walls around her began to fall. The heckler shifted uncomfortably, the crowd vibrating with the power of her truth. "What most people don't realize is that we all have our own struggles," Sarah said, her voice rising. "We all fight battles just to be seen. I'm not just a waitress. I'm a mother, a survivor, a dancer. And I dance for all of us who dare to dream." Cheers erupted from somewhere in the back, and a ripple of applause began to swell, growing stronger. It was almost magical, her words weaving through the crowd, pulling them together in a tapestry of shared experience. The editor took a step forward, his expression changing as he watched Sarah rally the support. This is powerful," he muttered under his breath, almost to himself. The once skeptical crowd was now lighting up, their faces filled with admiration and hope. Sarah felt herself rising, the connection expanding like the wings of a bird releasing from a cage. "You know what? If I had waited for permission to dance, I would have never moved. So I ask all of you, what's stopping you from chasing your passion?" She beamed, watching the mingling of her courage spark inspiration in others' faces. The heckler, having lost hold of the crowd's attention, retreated into the mass. Sarah's reality had transformed. She was standing not just for herself but for every story unspoken, every person overshadowed by doubt, for every heart whispering, "I can't." And tonight isn't just about me. It's about community, about all of us finding our own voices, whatever they may be. Clap broke out. Then another. People rose to their feet, hands connecting in a rhythm that pulsed through the space. Music began to swell from the event's closing, the beat perfecting Sarah's vibe as she finished speaking. Tears glimmered in her eyes. They weren't tears of sadness but of pure release. She was ready to dance, ready to live in that moment. Together, they leaned into the music, moving as if it was a heartbeat, a collective spirit finding its pulse. But just as she stepped forward, a sharp voice again sliced through the euphoria, this time from someone within the crowd. "You're just a fraud. a waitress pretending to be an artist. The weight of uncertainty settled back on her shoulders, and Sarah found herself trembling again. Would this battle continue? What more awaited her in the moments to come? The buzz in the air shifted back to a tense hum. Sarah felt invisible chains tighten around her heart. The comfort she'd drawn from the crowd's energy began to waver. She could see the flicker of doubt in the eyes of some who had stood up in solidarity just moments ago. Fraud, the word echoed in her mind, replaying like an unwanted song stuck on repeat. Sarah's knees felt weak, her body wanting to retreat into the safety of the shadows. But deep down, something new sparked an urge to defy the words that threatened to drown her. Taking a step back forward, she shook off negativity, determined to face the storm head-on. "I may be a waitress," she declared, her voice stronger this time, "but each cup I fill, each table I serve, is a chance for a connection. And dancing? Dancing is just another way to serve the spirit." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, hesitant but curious. One by one, faces turned back to her with a combination of intrigue and respect. It was as if she were a lighthouse amidst a fog, drawing lost ships back to shore. Sarah's breath deepened as she found her footing again. "And who among us hasn't felt like a fraud at some point?" She continued. "We wear masks in our everyday lives. Some of us hide behind labels, jobs, or the expectations of others. But tonight," her voice rose, mixing with the beat pulsing from the speakers, igniting the energy simmering beneath the surface. "Tonight is about shedding that. Yes, I am a waitress. I serve food and drink. But I came here to serve my passion, to express the joy and pain that pulses within me. We all have that rhythm inside." She swayed slightly, making her movements match the rhythm of the music that embraced them. Laughter broke out in hesitation, then grew. It was hesitant but blossoming into something real. The editor stepped closer again, leaning in to listen intently. Yes, this was her chance. "Let me show you what I mean." As if the music understood her cue, it crescendoed, lifting her up as she began to dance, her body pouring forth the struggles she had fought against every day. There were no steps held back by years of training. It was pure emotion, raw and unfiltered. Each twist and turn echoed unspoken fears, moments of joy, doors closed too tightly against hopelessness, and bursts of laughter that chased the shadows away. The crowd watched, spellbound. Sarah's heart soared. She wasn't just dancing. She was releasing every soul trapped in a role they had never wanted. She glimpsed faces lighting up, individuals connecting to their own buried dreams. Within moments, several others began to join her. People who looked just as unsure but were drawn by an invisible thread: the need to dance, to express. Emily was among them, twirling with joyful abandon, her laughter brightening the atmosphere. Yet, amidst the growing momentum, the heckler remained a stone in the river. "It's not real," he shouted again, contempt lacing his voice. Sarah momentarily faltered, contemplating him. She could feel the collective breath of the crowd hitch, anticipating her reaction. Could she push aside his negativity once more? With a determined glint in her eyes, she squared her shoulders back. The beauty of art, of dance, is that it doesn't need your approval. And in that instant, the crowd surged, unified in purpose. They moved closer, their collective voices rising to drown out the negativity. The music swelled again, drowning out all doubt. Sarah knew this was the moment they'd all been waiting for. This was transformation. But as she absorbed the vibrant energy around her, a ripple of anxiety tugged at her heart. If they were all stepping forward, what did that mean for her own journey forward? She could sense the climax of their shared experience fast approaching, filled with potential and uncharted paths. Would she be brave enough to take the next crucial step into the unknown? The music pulsed like a heartbeat, and Sarah lost herself in the rhythm, letting it guide her. Every movement was a flicker of vulnerability, a splash of wild abandon. She flung her arms wide and spun. The crowd was no longer a daunting sea of doubt, but rather a blooming garden of support. Something shifted within her, igniting a fire that she'd buried for too long. "Look at her," someone shouted, Yes, incredible. Other voices joined in, echoing encouragement. The heckler stood alone, his sneer fading as more people began to dance, their bodies responding to an invitation she had opened up. It wasn't just Sarah anymore. It was a wave of souls expressing hidden dreams, a collective liberation. The air was electric, shimmering with possibility. Emily danced beside her, their laughter mingling freely. Each twirl and leap sent ripples of joy through the gathered crowd. They began to mirror Sarah's movements, stepping out of their comfort zones. Faces transformed, worry lines softened, smiles broke across once stone-cold expressions, and hands reached for one another in unity. "I never knew I could feel this way," murmured a woman near the front, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. It was in that moment that Sarah really understood. The energy surge wasn't just about her and her dance. It was about the connections forged, the walls that came tumbling down, and the embers of everyone's passions that were now alight. Each dancer echoed their own truth, melding into a symphony of shared experiences. The heckler seethed from the edge, but gradually, his voice fell mute against the powerful tide of community forming. It was a tide engineered by vulnerability, passion, and sheer courage, an undeniable bond gathering strength. Salvation felt tangible. Sarah realized that her fear of judgment had become irrelevant. She had surrendered to the moment. The melody surged forward, and she followed, each beat stitching them closer together. Then, something unexpected happened. A man from the back of the crowd stepped forward, breaking free from his reservations. He clumsily joined in, arms swinging in wild abandon. Laughter erupted anew, a wave of acceptance washing away doubt. One by one, people converged into an expansive dance circle, where each move showcased their story. A man celebrating recovery, a mother reclaiming peace, a teenager dreaming of performing. In that realm of shared artistry, every heart thumped stronger, each spirit rose higher. "Keep going," Emily cheered, her energy infectious. But even as Sarah soaked in the beautiful chaos, a new worry crept into her mind. This transformation wasn't just about dance. It felt much bigger. Had she merely scratched the surface of something deeper? As Sarah twirled with abandon, her thoughts spiraled. What if this magic was fleeting? What if the world outside the dance floor couldn't understand? And even more haunting, what if she didn't know how to maintain this newfound strength? The music shifted again, a subtle undertone carrying whispers of doubt that threatened to surface. At that moment, as they danced in deliberate joy and fearlessness, Sarah had a choice to make. Embrace this reality or let it slip away like the final note of a song fading into silence. What lies next for Sarah? Would she dare to take this miraculous moment and build upon it? Or would she retreat back to her familiar safety? The question lingered in the air, waiting to be unveiled as the beat continued to pulse through every heart gathered around her. The rhythm swelled in waves, each beat pushing Sarah higher, deeper into a realm she had yearned for but never quite captured. She caught Emily's eye, a silent agreement passing between them. This was not merely a moment. It was a movement, fueled by a mix of adrenaline and something far more profound. Sarah danced with abandon. Yet, as the music fluctuated, her heart raced with an unsettling mix of exhilaration and fear. What if this was just a fleeting escape? What if the world returned to its routine of skepticism and judgment once the music faded? But right then, thick in the magic of the moment, another dancer stepped boldly into the circle. A middle-aged woman clad in a vibrant, flowing dress, radiant with confidence, began to sway. She spun like a sunflower turning to the sun, her laughter mixing with the music, igniting something within the crowd. Who is she? Sarah wondered, captivated by the woman's spirit. As if sensing the scrutiny, the woman locked eyes with Sarah, a knowing smile illuminating her face. Just that simple connection felt like a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. Encouraged by the energy circulating through the air, more joined in, dancing with stories written in their movements. A shy couple moved closer together, guiding one another through their own fears, their joy blooming like spring flowers after a heavy winter. Sarah's heart swelled as she watched, now feeling more inspired than threatened. The heckler had retreated, his voice lost in the jubilant melodies. They had become a tapestry woven from countless threads, vibrant and interdependent. Laughter and expression became what they all shared, the dance floor transforming into a sacred space for vulnerability and courage. But just as hope surged, shadows of doubt could still be felt, snaking through Sarah's mind. What was really happening here? Was she just a fuel for this fire? Or could she achieve something deeper? She could sense the power radiating from the dancers around her. Yet inside, a soft whisper gnawed at her resolve. She craved the permanence of this moment. Suddenly, the song swelled into an uplifting chorus, pulling her back into the rhythm. With each beat, Sarah swayed, surrendering her concerns to the music. She spun again, this time feeling the swirling energy resonate from her core. And then she leaped, both feet leaving the ground, and that leap lay a truth as powerful as the music itself. The fear wasn't just about judgment. It was the fear of change. What if they could change? What if everyone could step beyond their fears and hold onto this energy even after the music ended? The dance had become a revolution, a heartbeat of transformation. As the song transitioned to a softer melody, the energy shifted. They slowed, eyes wide, breathing heavy, feeling the rapid pulse of their shared experience. The crowd began to murmur, but the positivity was palpable. It was a moment of unity, a promise that something beautiful had been kindled. "Now what?" came Emily's gentle voice, filled with hope and a touch of concern, pulling Sarah back to the now. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, feeling more vulnerable than ever. The fear of returning to the old ways was nearly overpowering. What would they do with this experience? How could they all hold onto it outside this dance floor? Determination filled her. She knew she couldn't walk away. She refused to put this part of herself back in the dark. The question loomed large. How could she help everyone keep this fire alive? In that instant, Sarah resolved to ask everyone, each dancer filled with their own story, to share what this moment meant to them. A new idea began to take root as the music faded into quieter notes, and with trembling hands, she reached for the nearest dancer, ready to forge what could potentially change everything for them all. But was she brave enough to lead this charge into the unknown, or would fear win out? The beat pulsed softly around her, and Sarah felt that familiar doubt creep back in again, whispering, would they embrace this at all? As the last notes of the melody lingered in the air like smoke from a fire, Sarah hesitated. The vibrant circle of dancers pulsed with energy, hearts racing from the shared experience. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth and vulnerability radiate from everyone around her. Each face glowed with a newfound awareness. They were all in this together, united by something invisible yet undeniable. "Hey, everyone," she called out, her voice breaking through the soft sounds of post-dance chatter. The room quieted, a collective sense of curiosity drawing the attention of her fellow dancers. "I want to know what this moment means to you. Can we share it?" A ripple of nervousness and excitement spread through the crowd, eyes darting around, unsure. Sarah felt her heart pound in her chest. But there was also a sense of eagerness. The middle-aged woman in the colorful dress stepped forward, her flowing garment catching the dim light. "It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I forgot everything outside for a moment. Felt freeing." Sarah smiled, feeling courage fill her. "Exactly. It's like we unlocked something inside." One by one, hands began to raise. The shy couple who had moved closer shared, "We wanted to dance freely without worrying about how we looked. Tonight, we felt safe." Each story poured out like a colorful river, from those grappling with loss to others reclaiming forgotten joy. Each voice was a thread in the growing tapestry of their collective experience, vibrant and interwoven. As the stories flowed, Sarah found her own doubts begin to ease. This was more than just a dance. It was a lifeline. She could see people connecting, tears glistening in their eyes, laughter erupting like summer fireworks. Then a man stepped forward, his brow furrowed, vulnerability mingling with determination. "I've been stuck in my routine for years, afraid to let go and try something new. But tonight I felt alive, like I could conquer my fears. A wave of applause erupted, a surge of shared acknowledgement that their fears could be faced, that transformation was possible. Sarah's heart fluttered. This was the energy, the fire she had longed to spark. But then it hit her. How could they sustain this feeling? What if they did forget? A sense of urgency gripped her. "Let us create something," she said passionately, eyes sweeping across the crowd. "A place where we can keep sharing, learning, dancing together." Community. Gasps of surprise filled the air. They were all taken aback by the thought. Sarah pressed her hands together, her heart racing. "Imagine if we could meet regularly to dance, to share our journeys. We could uplift each other every step of the way." As the murmurs grew, she sensed hesitation returning. Yet there was something more, a flicker of hope. Emily stepped up beside Sarah and nodded fervently. "I'm in," she declared, her enthusiasm infectious. One dancer hesitated before asking, "But how do we even begin?" "We start right here," Sarah responded, chin lifted high. "We nurture this moment and build from it. Together." The energy shifted again, electric with possibility. Commitments began to form, and laughter floated through the air, swirling around them like the music that had brought them all together. But as excitement buzzed in the room, Sarah couldn't shake the weight of her thoughts. Would they all really follow through? Was she ready to be this leader they might need? There was so much at stake, the fear of falling back into old patterns clinging to her like a shadow. She looked around, a knot tightening in her chest. Would this truly change anything? With those doubts swirling in the back of her mind, she took a deep breath and smiled wide, signaling the need for one last moment. "Let us write down our hopes for this community. The dreams we have. We'll keep them close, remind each other." The room buzzed, a wave of anticipation cutting through the air. Little did they know, this was only the beginning. But as Sarah gathered paper and pens, her heart raced with a new question. How far would they really go together? As the crowd settled into their new purpose, Sarah felt a surge of determination coursing through her. She watched as a flurry of expressions emerged: hope, excitement, trepidation. They were all there in the air, mingling freely like the notes of the last song. Beneath the clamor, a gentle certainty swept over her. This shared dream would bloom, its roots running deep through the bonds they would create. The room came alive with whispers and laughter, each participant inspired by the energy that radiated from their dance. "I want to host dance nights," shouted the vibrant woman, her hands clasped in exhilaration. "We can get together, practice, and just let go." Others chimed in, their ideas cascading into a vibrant waterfall of possibilities. "Let us create a social media group." Another joined in, nerves transforming into excitement. "We can share our stories, our journeys." The voices danced around Sarah, weaving an intricate tapestry of collective intention that sent warm shivers down her spine. Emily bounded beside her, eyes alight with hope and devotion. "Mom, this is amazing. You've started something incredible." Sarah couldn't help but beam, her pride overflowing. But just as joy filled her heart, a shadow of doubt crept back in. Was she truly equipped to take on this role? Could she bear the burden of leading this newfound community amid the judgments that loomed outside the door waiting to cast shadows again? With a thoughtful look, Sarah grasped Emily's hand tighter. "But what if we falter? What if it doesn't last?" she whispered, revealing the vulnerabilities that rattled within. Emily looked up, a warrior spirit shining in her young eyes. "But Mom, look at everyone. They want this. We can remind each other to keep going. If we really believe, it will stick," she urged, her words filled with the kind of faith that could spark a fire in a blizzard. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt something shift inside. She realized they were all scared but willing to step forward. This night had already transformed them all. Maybe that change was bigger than she had dared to dream. Maybe it could last. She took a moment to watch their faces, fearless, hopeful, determined. They were no longer waiting for permission, nor feeling the weight of judgment. They were living. "Okay," Sarah called out, raising her voice so everyone could hear. "Let us do this. Together." I've witnessed so much bravery tonight, and let us keep amplifying it. The crowd erupted in cheers, a wave of unity cascading around the community center. Momentarily, a subtle shift occurred as Emily stepped forward, taking center stage beside her mother. In her eyes sparkled dreams yet to be unveiled. I believe we can build a place for everyone who has ever felt lost, scared, or invisible. A space where we support each other, where we can dance and share without fear. As the applause erupted again, Sarah saw the weight of Emily's confidence begin to lift her own anxieties. This was it. This was their moment. Everything they had faced, the whispers, the doubts, the hurt, it was all leading to this powerful awakening. The walls of fear were beginning to fall, and Sarah steadied herself, feeling the winds of hope blowing brightly. She grabbed the stack of papers and pens she had collected, handing them out to each person in the crowd. Let us write our dreams, our hopes, our commitments. This isn't just a one-time thing. This is the birth of something bigger. As they scribbled down their thoughts, laughter bubbled up again, an echo of the connection forged that night. With every word shared, each bold stroke of ink, they were crafting a narrative that celebrated their resilience and aspirations. My dream is to dance freely without caring what others think. A young man shared, proudly lifting his page. The crowd roared with approval, each person embarking on their own journey while intertwining with those around them. I want to help people find their rhythm, cried out the vibrant woman, her dress flowing like waves as she captured the moment point one by one. They read their commitments aloud together. They created a bond stronger than any gossip that had threatened to hold them down. The atmosphere teetered on the edge of magic. As the last ideas were shared, Sarah stood at the center of it all, her heart racing. Her motherly instincts kicked in like a warm embrace. She could feel the power each individual brought to the communal table. Together we will rise. With passion, we now navigate our journeys, she declared with unwavering boldness. Let us promise to support each other as we take this forward. Shouts of agreement reverberated across the room. This community was no longer only about her. It was about all of them, their fears and joys intertwined in a beautiful fabric as they each stepped into the light together as laughter and love flowed between them. Sarah knew that whatever storms awaited, they could face them, stick together, holding on to the magic they had awakened. The transformation would last. The night wore on, bright with infectious laughter and shared stories. Slowly, the shadows that had hovered over Sarah slipped away, replaced by warmth and connection. She knew in her heart this was just the beginning. A dance of life that would echo far beyond the confines of the community center. I can't wait to see what's next, Emily exclaimed, excitement brimming in her voice. Neither can I, Sarah replied, tears of joy welling. This was more than a dance. It was a new chapter that breathed life into everything she had fought for. And as they locked arms with friends and newfound family, stepping boldly into the future, Sarah felt a warmth unfurl within her, a belief that together, they could redefine their world. With vibrant spirits entwined, Sarah and Emily took a deep breath, knowing they had kindled a spark that would illuminate their lives and the lives of everyone they touched. Now, this is your chance to keep this magic alive. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you never miss another story that inspires and transforms. Every like you leave helps spread this powerful narrative, so don't wait. Comment below on how Sarah's journey made you feel, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this remarkable transformation together. We can uplift more souls. Let us unite in joy and connection. The world needs to feel this warmth.